Welcome to Shakacast number 8. Shakacast number 8 is the longest titled Shakacast thus far, being dubbed Trump bribed Ukraine. True. The first world is on the verge of economic collapse. True. Hillary killed Epstein. If you don't know, now you know. And why you shouldn't care. That last part's important. Now, I want to tie everything back to the human problem of pain and resiliency and the idea of the pain cycle, okay? I want to bring everything back to the idea of the pain cycle. If you didn't watch the episode from before, Shakacast number 7, I went into depth on what the pain cycle is and how pain begets pain. And I think it's important to precurse this episode with that same concept, because there's a reason why you care about all these things that don't really matter. So, back in 2008, there was a massive quote-unquote recession, because of which small businesses and major businesses had difficulty not just making a profit or staying successful, but they also had difficulty keeping people hired and managing the value of their stocks. With that, a whole bunch of people lost everything. When I say everything, I mean their houses, their cars, their personal belongings beyond that, everything. So for a lot of people, particularly people who had lived a cushy lifestyle up to then, right? The most traumatic experience they had ever had was experiencing the fear of not having money and being able to live comfortably, because they had for so much of their life. Now, with that fear being enacted and those people experiencing that horrific thing that caused thousands and thousands of people to lose their life savings, there was pain. There was pain. Had to be. And if there's pain, there's trauma. And within that pain and trauma, the pain cycle begins. Now, how does the pain cycle function as it pertains to the recession? I'll tell you. Initially, there was the fear of the recession. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Real estate prices are dropping. We don't have money anymore. Stocks are now worthless. Okay. It's coming. And then it affects you. Now, when it comes to stocks, the recession itself was unique in how it affected everyone, because of the fact that a lot of, or the majority of companies, or the majority of financial wealth within businesses in the United States are within corporations. So because they're within corporations, a lot of job security for people depends on the quality and the value of a stock. And if that's the case, that means when your stocks go down and they are worth less, your boss is a dickhead. Why is your boss a dickhead? Well, when stock values go down, years and years of your boss's life begin to tweedle down the drain, which means that your boss begins to treat you like crap because of the recession. For most people, that's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to affect you first. And then after it affects you in that way, you lose your job, right? There's an escalation somewhere. So it affects you at your job, and then you do less hours, or it affects you at your job and you're too tired to come home and, be that happy parent that you always were. Your boss sucks and he wants to be a douchebag to you, so you work extra hours trying to make sure that you bring those stock values back up on something that's much, much larger than yourself. But you want to do your best part as a member of the team, right? So things get a little bit worse. And then you take that worse and you amplify it by bringing your stress home. Oh, we don't have the money to afford that. You need to stop playing games because we don't have the money to play games like that. I don't understand why you think I can go to all these football games when I need to make sure that you got food on the table. I don't understand why you want to take and drive out to your friend's house when your friend lives out in the country. We can't afford gas money. We're all broke because of the recession. So the stress at home teaches people who aren't related to that event, right? Because your kids have nothing to do with the recession, right? Like your family who doesn't have stocks, your family who's not in charge of making sure that everything is stable, they're not involved with the effects of the recession except for the parts of the recession that you allow them to be a part of. So that stress teaches the family that they should fear this recession. There's your pain cycle. There's your pain cycle right there. So, recession is coming. The fear is there. Your boss, he treats you like shit. Okay? You get treated like shit, and it affects you because you want to do better so that your stocks come up and you do the best that you can. Okay? So your boss is stressed, then you are stressed. Your boss is stressed because he has stocks. So he sees his life's value coming down. You're stressed because your boss is annoying the hell out of you, and you're afraid of losing your job. You bring that stress home, which is amplified because you start to lose your connections with your family and they notice the changes in you. And you attribute those changes to the recession, to the fear of that loss, to the possibility that you might lose your job because of this thing called the recession. So we, a generation of millennials who haven't really had to fear anything financially as much as, nothing near what people had to deal with during the actual depression. We grew up in fear of the recession. Okay? Now, why does that matter? Why does the building of that fear, that pain cycle matter? Well, because that fear and that expectation of a repeat of that same trauma, okay, the pain cycle, the expectation of the repeat of that trauma is how the media gets you excited about this bullshit. Here. It's all bullshit. All this is bullshit. What do you mean? Well, if you own stocks, you probably own stocks because you intend on selling them later. Your purchase of stocks builds into a long-term value that you intend on building upon over time. With that in mind, I want to suggest that you do not live off of stocks. In fact, 40% of Americans would literally go under if they didn't have $400 to be able to fix their car. 40% of Americans would go under if they didn't have $400 to fix their car. That means that 40% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, which means that for 40% of Americans, the stock market does not matter at all. Then you take the percentage of Americans that are comfortable being comfortable. The Americans that have been steady, earning the same amount, and are just happy earning that amount. Steady as she goes. Content with the stocks that they have, unless they're retired, they're happy where they are. So the stocks, again, they're not living off of the stocks. They don't have to be concerned about the bullshit. But there's a small group of people. There's a small group of people who do live off of stocks, who do use stocks for income, and they take those stocks and they use them to run multi-million-dollar corporations. Once again, you probably shouldn't care. Because even though you may work for a multi-million-dollar corporation, there are people around you with the ingenuity to continue to develop small companies all around the United States. A lot of times it's legal binds made by the major corporations that keep those small companies from becoming ideas legally. However, if you support people and provide them with something that they're excited about, even if you can't make it legal, you can produce income from it. So with your ingenuity, you don't necessarily need a major corporation, or not with just your ingenuity, the ingenuity of a friend. If that wasn't the case, then jiu-jitsu wouldn't even exist, right? So major corporations fear all of these things because these things affect major corporations' money. We fear these things because these things are a part of our pain cycle, okay? But why shouldn't you care? Well, I'll tell you why. This is the first time in human history that at any given moment, I could know what is going on in Japan. I could pop open my phone, open up a Japanese newsletter, and find out what's going on. But here's the question. If this is America, and this is Japan, why do I care about what's happening over here? If this is my bubble, okay, and this is their bubble, why would I care about all the BS on the way to the other side of the world? And for the people watching this, if you're still here, right? You're thinking to yourself, well, duh, Shaka, of course. Nobody cares about what's going on in Japan right now. Great. Let me ask you. Trump bribed Ukraine. Well, what does that mean? Well, Trump committed corruption. Well, sure, but every politician commits corruption. Yeah, but he's the president, and that's not how we want to be represented on the world stage. Got it. I dig it. This is the world. This is your bubble. Okay? And if you imagine this to scale, this is probably the size of probably Virginia. Maybe a little bit bigger than Virginia. Okay? But that's the size of that bubble. That bubble is Virginia. For those of you in Virginia, I guarantee you have a neighbor you don't know. So not specific to the people in Virginia, I'm just saying because everybody's on the internet arguing about these things over here. But you don't know your neighbor, and you're worried about how Trump bribed Ukraine because it represents you. We're worried about, I thought we were worried about money, right? I thought we were worried about feeding our families and, making sure that they were okay. Because that's what the recession took away from us. But we're not arguing about how we're going to continue to make money and be successful. We're arguing about how Trump bribed Ukraine and how Trump represents us on the world stage when we live all the way over here. I want to put it into perspective. This is a dot. I want you to compare this dot to the world and all its BS. This dot itself is still at least the size of Connecticut. You don't know everybody in Connecticut. If you live in Connecticut, you do not know everybody in the state of Connecticut. I guarantee you. So why does the first world being on the verge of economic collapse matter? Well, this is a lot scarier, right? The world is on the verge of economic collapse. Why does it matter? Well, it doesn't. If the world is on the verge of economic collapse, how are you going to stop it? You don't see Bill Gates evenly distributing his money in order to make sure that everyone is fed so that we can stop economic collapse. You don't see, you don't see people negotiating peace in the Middle East in fear of the world being on the verge of economic collapse. Because when you wake up every day, your world is 1,000 times smaller than this bubble. You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you take care of your family, and you go to sleep. And then if the world is on the verge of economic collapse, there is not shit you can do about it. You're not Tom Cruise. I guarantee you. The world could be on the verge of economic collapse. You could know that the world is going to collapse economically tomorrow. May as well go to work. And if you don't go to work, what are you going to do? Spend time with your family and kids while you find a way to feed your family and kids. That's your future if the world collapses economically. Fucking incredible. The scope of how your bubble changes is so small. But we keep fighting about this shit that does not matter. Hillary killed Epstein. They exonerated Epstein and everyone involved with him. They media silenced it. And nobody's talking about it anymore. Why does it matter? It doesn't. It doesn't matter. Yeah, there's dozens of people hurt. Dozens and dozens of people hurt. Those people deserve justice. Those people deserve support. But it's 2019. I can send $10 with a click of a button and then get back to my fucking bubble. This is my bubble. Lastly, oh wait, that is everything. That's everything. That's why you shouldn't care. That's why you shouldn't care. Well, why do we care, right? Like, why do I know that Hillary killed Epstein? Why do I know that Trump bribed Ukraine and that the world is on the verge of economic collapse? Why do I know? It's because of our cell phones. For some reason, with all the time that we have, there's this addiction to building into the pain cycle, that reverse backstep, always thinking about something negative that we have absolutely no control over, that we can't even see. I've never seen Trump in person, not once, but I can think of a family that's been torn apart on one dinner, or two, or three, because of a conversation about something that this guy said and how nobody agreed with it. What are we doing? Huh? Just go back. Focus on your jiu-jitsu or something else. I don't know, I was thinking about this because I had learned about this, the Trump thing. And personally, like, I hate injustice. So I wanted to find out why, like, we were all upset about this Trump thing. But, like, honestly, I had to take a step back. Like, it's fight week. We got tournaments this weekend. My world is this small. And the only thing connecting me to all the bullshit that I think about outside of the tournament and the waste of time that there are in the world is my cell phone. and my attention that I'm spending to everything outside of my bubble on that side. Everything in my bubble is all you guys. So if you ever need help with anything, if you ever need anybody, shoot out to Shaka, let me know. I'll see what I can do for you. Thanks for watching Shakacast number 8. Like, comment, subscribe, ask me questions, and what's the other thing? Oh, give me suggestions. Have a great day.